The 20th century witnessed a revolution, not only a technological one, but also one that changed the way we perceive the world. It was the century in which modern marketing was born. It was a time when advertising ceased to be mere information and became an art of persuasion, psychology, and visual storytelling. From simple posters to complex television campaigns, 20th century marketing shaped our desires, dreams, and perceptions of reality. In this film, we will travel back in time to uncover the stories of these extraordinary campaigns. We will see how brilliant minds used crowd psychology, created iconic images and slogans that have survived generations. We will explore the behind the scenes of campaigns that not only sold products but also changed social norms, evoked emotions, and penetrated our subconscious. It is a story of how marketing became a powerful tool, capable of shaping culture and public opinion. Prepare for a journey through the decades that defined the modern world of advertising. 1806, how the free sample changed the history of marketing. In the second half of the 19th century, the American economy was booming. Industrialization was in full swing, cities were growing rapidly, and more people were leaving rural areas to work in factories. As wages increased and production became more efficient, the consumption of everyday goods skyrocketed. Yet, despite these changes, certain deeply ingrained habits remained difficult to alter. One of the most persistent was oral hygiene, or rather, the lack of it. At that time, most people in the United States did not use any specialized products for cleaning their teeth. Many simply relied on rinsing with water, scrubbing with baking soda, or rubbing their gums with salt. The idea of brushing teeth every day was practically unheard of outside of a small, wealthier segment of society. This presented a major challenge for companies trying to introduce new products. How do you sell something that people don't even think they need? That was the dilemma faced by William Colgate, an entrepreneur who had founded his company in 1806, initially producing soap and candles. While his business was successful, it was his son, Samuel Colgate, who would go on to revolutionize the way Americans cared for their teeth. By the late 19th century, he saw an opportunity. If he could change public perception about oral hygiene, he could create an entirely new market for toothpaste. But there was one major obstacle. How could he convince people to try a product they had never used before? A simple but revolutionary idea: try before you buy. Samuel Colgate understood something that many marketers would later come to embrace. People are resistant to change until they experience something better firsthand. Instead of relying solely on advertising to persuade consumers, he decided to take a bold, unprecedented approach. He would give his product away for free. In 1887, Colgate began distributing small metal tubes filled with a white, mint-flavored paste to households across New York City. This was the first recorded use of a marketing strategy that seems obvious today but was groundbreaking at the time: the free sample. Why did it work so well? At first, people were skeptical. They had never seen toothpaste in a tube before. Until then, the few tooth cleaning products available came in jars or powders that required mixing with water. However, as soon as they tried Colgate's product, they realized something remarkable. It was incredibly convenient. There was no need for messy powders or complicated mixtures. The paste was ready to use straight from the tube. It was more effective. Unlike baking soda or salt, which provided only minimal cleansing, Colgate's toothpaste left teeth feeling cleaner and breath fresher. It provided a pleasant experience. The mint flavor was a stark contrast to the harsh, abrasive alternatives people had been using. Rather than trying to convince people through words, Colgate let them experience the benefits for themselves, and that proved to be the most powerful persuasion tool of all. The impact. a new standard for oral hygiene. Within just a few years, Colgate's toothpaste became a staple in American households. The success of the free sample strategy was undeniable. People who tried the product were far more likely to become loyal customers. The idea of daily toothbrushing started to take hold, paving the way for the modern understanding of dental hygiene. But perhaps even more importantly, Colgate's experiment changed the way companies approached marketing. Businesses across industries began to see the value of letting consumers test products before making a purchase. Today, free samples are everywhere, from cosmetics counters offering trial-sized perfumes to software companies providing free trial periods. The concept has evolved into strategies like freemium models, where companies give away basic versions of their products in hopes of converting users into paying customers. A small sample that changed everything. The small metal toothpaste tube that landed in the hands of an unsuspecting New Yorker in 1887 was more than just a freebie. It was a revolution in marketing. It proved that the best advertisement isn't just a clever slogan or a flashy campaign, but the simple act of letting people try something for themselves. And from that moment on, the free sample became one of the most powerful tools in marketing history. 1898, Bibendum. How Michelin created one of the most enduring icons in marketing. At the end of the 19th century, automobiles were still a rarity, and long-distance travel was not only time-consuming, but also risky. Brothers Edouard and André Michelin, owners of the French tire manufacturing company, had an ambitious goal: to convince people that traveling by car could be comfortable and safe. But how could they achieve this when most of society saw automobiles as an extravagant novelty? The key to success turned out to be a creative brand identity. In 1894, during an automotive exhibition in Lyon, André Michelin noticed a stack of tires arranged in the shape of a human figure. "If we added arms, it would look like a man," he remarked. This observation gave birth to one of the most recognizable figures in marketing history, Bibendum, the famous Michelin Man. From sketch to global brand symbol. 4 years later, in 1898, Michelin commissioned the illustrator Au Galop to create an image of this unusual character. The inspiration for its personality came from the Latin phrase "Nunc est bibendum," now is the time to drink, which, in the context of Michelin's advertising, symbolized that their tires could swallow road obstacles as easily as a perfect drink. In the first advertisements, Bibendum held a goblet filled with nails and glass, representing the durability of Michelin tires. The character quickly began appearing on posters, in advertisements, and on Michelin products. Instead of traditional formal ad campaigns, the company built a likable mascot that, over time, became not only the face of the brand, but also a cultural phenomenon. What made Bibendum so successful? Memorability. Michelin created a character that was unique, humorous, and evoked positive associations. Emotional connection. Instead of focusing on the technical aspects of tires, the brand emphasized a friendly image, making customers feel a sense of warmth and familiarity with the company. Longevity. Although Bibendum's appearance evolved over the years, he became slimmer and more modern-looking. He remains Michelin's symbol to this day, making him one of the longest-standing marketing icons in history. Marketing that has lasted over a century. Bibendum quickly became recognized worldwide, but Michelin didn't stop with just a mascot. In 1900, the company published the first Michelin guide, initially as a free supplement for drivers, containing road maps and recommended rest stops. Today, the famous Michelin stars are a symbol of the highest quality in gastronomy, and the brand itself is associated not only with the automotive industry, but also with a luxurious lifestyle. This story proves that marketing is more than just advertising. It's about building strong associations and emotions around a brand. Michelin understood this over a century ago, and Bibendum remains one of the best examples of how a well-designed symbol can endure for generations. 1917, I Want You, the American recruitment campaign and the icon of patriotism. In the early 20th century, the United States found itself at a crossroads. World War I had broken out across Europe, and despite being a powerful global nation, America had remained neutral for several years. However, as the war intensified and the need for soldiers grew, the US government faced a significant challenge: how to motivate and convince Americans to enlist in the military. The answer came in the form of one of the most iconic posters in American history, the I Want You recruitment campaign, which debuted in 1917. This bold and straightforward appeal for men to join the army was designed not just to inspire action, but to invoke deep feelings of duty and patriotism. The birth of an icon, James Montgomery Flagg's vision. The campaign was created by James Montgomery Flagg, a renowned American artist and illustrator. Flagg was no stranger to public art. He had already created a wide range of posters and advertisements. But his work for the US Army during World War I would become his most famous. The poster featured a simple yet arresting design. Uncle Sam, a figure synonymous with the American government, was depicted with an intense stare and a pointed finger, with the words, "I want you for US Army," emblazoned beneath. The image was direct and compelling, a call to action that left no room for ambiguity. A symbol of patriotism and national unity. Uncle Sam, the figure at the heart of the image, had been used in American culture for decades, but Flagg's version brought him to life in a new, more urgent way. With his white beard, blue coat, and stars and stripes top hat, Uncle Sam represented the government, but more importantly, he embodied the spirit of patriotism, strength, and determination. The pointed finger wasn't just a gesture, it was a symbol of personal responsibility. He wasn't just asking, it felt like he was commanding every American citizen to answer the call. The campaign wasn't only about recruiting soldiers, it was about building national unity. I Want You was a message that every citizen had a role to play, and that role wasn't just on the battlefield. It extended to supporting the war effort in any way possible, whether it was through buying war bonds, volunteering, or contributing to home front efforts. The power of simplicity and directness. What made the I Want You poster so successful wasn't just the powerful image, it was the simplicity of the message. Unlike other recruitment campaigns that relied on long-winded explanations, Flagg's design was direct and emotionally charged. The poster didn't just say, "Join the army." It said, "This is your duty. The country needs you. You are wanted." It appealed to the collective conscience of the American people, leveraging a sense of shared responsibility. Its immediacy and directness made it easy to understand, memorable, and urgent, qualities that made it incredibly effective. The legacy of I Want You. The impact of the I Want You campaign was immediate and significant. Over 4 million men enlisted in the US Army during the course of World War I, and many historians credit this poster with playing a crucial role in that surge of enlistment. More than just a tool for military recruitment, the I Want You campaign became an enduring symbol of American patriotism. It transcended the war itself, becoming a part of the cultural fabric of the nation. The image of Uncle Sam has been adapted and parodied countless times in pop culture, and the campaign itself is still referenced in political advertisements and social movements to this day. A marketing strategy that reached generations. The I Want You poster wasn't just a momentary success. It was a masterclass in marketing that endured long after the war ended. Its simplicity, emotional impact, and ability to tap into the national psyche made it a template for future campaigns, not only in the US but around the world. The message was clear: to be part of something greater than oneself, to contribute to the nation's cause, and to do it with pride and conviction. And in the process, James Montgomery Flagg created not just a poster, but an iconic symbol of American identity that would last for generations to come. 1929, Coca-Cola and Santa Claus, how the brand created an icon of Christmas. In the 1920s, Coca-Cola was not yet the ubiquitous brand we know today. While the drink had gained popularity, the company faced a significant challenge. Winter sales were dramatically low. People associated Coca-Cola with refreshing beverages for the summer months, but when the colder seasons arrived, they reached for other drinks. The company needed a way to change this trend, and that's when the idea emerged. What if Coca-Cola could become a symbol of Christmas? The birth of the modern Santa Claus. Up until this point, the image of Santa Claus was not standardized. Different cultures portrayed him in various ways, sometimes as a stern bishop, sometimes as an elf, and sometimes as an older man in a long robe. Coca-Cola saw an opportunity to create a unified, friendly, and warm image of Santa that would resonate with its brand. In 1931, the company commissioned illustrator Haddon Sundblom to craft a new version of Santa Claus, one that would be jolly, approachable, and distinctly tied to the holiday spirit. The result? A plump, cheerful old man in a red suit, with a white beard and sparkling eyes, embodying a sense of joy and warmth. This version of Santa Claus first appeared in Coca-Cola advertisements in newspapers and on posters. The campaign was an immediate success. People fell in love with this new, approachable version of Santa, and the image quickly became synonymous with the brand and Christmas itself. Why did it work? Emotional connection. Coca-Cola wasn't just selling a drink, it was promoting the holiday atmosphere, warmth, family, and joy. The campaign captured the emotions associated with Christmas and used Santa as a symbol of those feelings. Creating tradition, Santa became so iconic that he seamlessly became a part of popular culture. The Coca-Cola version of Santa was no longer just a character in an ad. It was the Santa everyone knew, forever tied to Christmas. Long-term impact. Every winter, Coca-Cola came back with more holiday campaigns, further strengthening its positioning as the official drink of Christmas. It wasn't just a seasonal push, it was part of a much larger, ongoing tradition. Each campaign added to the legend of their Santa Claus, making the brand inseparable from the holiday season. How Coca-Cola forever changed Christmas. Today, it's hard to imagine Santa Claus without thinking of the red and white suit and the cheerful personality created by Coca-Cola. While the brand didn't invent the figure of Santa, it was Coca-Cola's campaign that solidified this image of Santa as the dominant one worldwide. The plump, jolly old man with his bright eyes, red cheeks, and iconic suit wasn't just a marketing tool. It became a global icon of Christmas. This version of Santa has been reinforced through decades of ads, making him more than just a character, but a symbol of everything Christmas represents: joy, generosity, warmth, and togetherness. Coca-Cola's role in shaping Christmas imagery was a brilliant piece of marketing. They didn't just solve a problem of low winter sales. They created one of the most enduring and recognizable symbols of the holiday season. More details on Coca-Cola's impact on Christmas culture. The 1931 campaign, which featured Sundblom's Santa, was just the beginning. Coca-Cola continued to evolve and expand on the concept, featuring Santa in various joyful and heartwarming scenes. The brand not only embraced Christmas advertising, but made it its own holiday tradition. The image of Santa became so iconic that other companies began to imitate Coca-Cola's version, but none were as deeply ingrained in the cultural fabric as Coca-Cola's. Coca-Cola also utilized the power of advertising consistency to ensure the image of Santa was continuously seen year after year, allowing it to be cemented as the official symbol of the holiday season. As a result, when people think of Christmas today, they think of the Coca-Cola Santa, further reinforcing the brand's strong emotional connection to the season. By aligning its brand with the festive spirit, Coca-Cola didn't just boost its winter sales, it became an integral part of the modern Christmas celebration. Today, the company's seasonal campaigns are eagerly awaited, with many looking forward to the Santa imagery that marks the start of the Christmas season. In this sense, Coca-Cola's marketing went beyond selling a product. It became a shaper of cultural norms, influencing how millions of people around the world celebrate and perceive Christmas. A timeless example of how a well-executed marketing strategy can not only drive sales, but change an entire holiday's iconography. 1929. Reach for a Lucky instead of a sweet. Lucky Strike changes habits, linking smoking with weight control. In 1929, the advertising world was about to witness a radical shift in how habits were formed and marketed. Lucky Strike, a leading cigarette brand, faced the challenge of standing out in an already crowded market. Cigarette advertising had traditionally focused on the pleasures of smoking, its taste, its satisfaction. But Lucky Strike was about to take a bold new direction that would reshape the role of smoking in American society. The bold idea, linking smoking with weight control. At the time, tobacco companies were trying to expand their appeal, moving beyond just smokers to include the broader population. One of the emerging trends in American culture was dieting and the control of one's weight. In a society that was becoming more and more image conscious, particularly as the Roaring Twenties introduced a new ideal of slimness and femininity, Lucky Strike saw an opportunity to combine smoking with this cultural obsession. The campaign slogan, "Reach for a Lucky instead of a sweet," was born. The message was simple yet powerful. Smoking a cigarette could be a substitute for indulging in sweets, a common cause of weight gain. It wasn't just about smoking, it was about staying thin, attractive, and in control. At a time when society was placing increasing importance on body image, this message hit a chord with women, who were the primary target of the campaign. The power of the message, connecting smoking with weight loss. Lucky Strike's advertising strategy didn't just sell cigarettes, it sold a lifestyle. The campaign made smoking part of a self-discipline ritual. The brand was promoting a subtle idea that smoking could be part of a woman's control over her body, especially in terms of dieting and maintaining a desired figure. The idea was that instead of snacking on sweets or indulging in high-calorie foods, a person could reach for a Lucky Strike cigarette to curb their cravings. It presented smoking as a form of self-control, rather than a harmful vice. This campaign was an early example of how advertising could tap into deep cultural values, like appearance, discipline, and self-improvement, and make them synonymous with a product. In many ways, Lucky Strike wasn't just selling cigarettes. They were selling a lifestyle of modernity, slimness, and control. The impact, shaping public perception and smoking habits. The Reach for a Lucky instead of a sweet campaign was an overwhelming success, transforming smoking into a cultural symbol of self-discipline. It cleverly aligned cigarette consumption with the desire for beauty and weight control, making it not just a habit, but a form of empowerment. The ad was particularly effective because it resonated with women who were looking for ways to maintain their ideal weight without resorting to extreme diets or calorie restrictions. While the health risks of smoking were not yet as well known in 1929, the psychological connection between weight loss and smoking was powerful enough to make this campaign resonate deeply with the public. It also reflected a changing cultural mindset where the pursuit of a slim, attractive body became increasingly prioritized. The legacy of Reach for a Lucky. The Reach for a Lucky, instead of a sweet campaign, is remembered as one of the most influential advertising strategies of its time, demonstrating the power of using lifestyle marketing to connect products with cultural trends. Though the long-term health risks of smoking would eventually come to light, the advertising strategy pioneered by Lucky Strike would remain a key example of how advertising could shape behavior and change societal perceptions. Today, it's hard to imagine a time when smoking was so casually associated with beauty, weight control, and sophistication. The campaign showed the incredible influence of advertising, especially in an era when people were just beginning to grapple with the consequences of mass consumerism and body image. By linking smoking with weight control, Lucky Strike didn't just sell cigarettes, they tapped into the desires and anxieties of a generation, creating a lasting impact on advertising history. 1941. Diamonds Are Forever. How marketing turned diamonds into a symbol of love. At the beginning of the 20th century, diamond engagement rings were not the norm. Many couples chose other gemstones, or even opted for more practical gifts over jewelry. Diamonds were considered a luxury reserved for the wealthy, and their sales, particularly after the Great Depression of the 1930s, had plummeted. De Beers, the largest player in the diamond market, faced a serious challenge. How could they convince people that a diamond wasn't just a sparkling trinket, but something far more significant? The brilliant idea: diamonds as a symbol of everlasting love. In 1941, De Beers commissioned the advertising agency N.W. Ayer and Son to create a campaign that would not only increase sales, but also change the way people perceived diamonds. The key moment came when they decided to link diamonds with love, something eternal, enduring, and indestructible. In 1947, the iconic slogan was born: "A diamond is forever." Simple, elegant, and brilliant in its implication, the phrase would forever change the jewelry industry, transforming diamonds from a rare commodity into a symbol of unbreakable commitment. Why it worked: a timeless tradition. This campaign didn't just promote diamonds, it created a new social norm. An engagement ring should have a diamond. The idea of using a diamond to symbolize eternal love was ingrained in the collective psyche, shifting public perception entirely. The campaign worked because it made psychological connections. Diamonds, with their hardness, indestructibility, and permanence, were presented as an ideal metaphor for marital love: strong, lasting, and unbreakable. Women wanted them, while men felt obligated to buy them to prove their love and commitment. In this way, De Beers had effectively made diamonds not just a product, but a ritual in the engagement process. Elitism and aspirations: diamonds as a measure of love. De Beers didn't stop at creating a symbol. They used aspirational marketing to deepen the connection. The campaign suggested that the larger the diamond, the greater the love. This subtle implication nudged consumers towards spending more on diamonds, associating the size of the stone with the depth of their commitment. In the 1950s, De Beers introduced a guideline that became widely accepted. The value of an engagement ring should equal 2 months' salary. This was pure marketing manipulation, but so effective that it was almost universally adopted. And today, many still feel the pressure to adhere to this unwritten rule. It wasn't about just buying a diamond. It was about proving that love through the price tag attached to it. The campaign that changed the world. The impact of the campaign was profound. Over the next few years, diamond sales soared by more than 50%, and the practice of giving a diamond engagement ring became a global standard. De Beers didn't just sell diamonds, they sold an idea, a ritual, a tradition, and a symbol. As Hollywood actresses like Elizabeth Taylor and Grace Kelly began wearing diamonds in the public eye, the glamour of the Hollywood elite made the symbol even more desirable. Soon, diamonds were everywhere, reinforcing their status as the ultimate gift to signify unwavering love. How diamonds are forever changed engagements. Forever. Today, it's hard to imagine an engagement without a diamond ring. This ubiquitous practice, deeply embedded in modern culture, owes its existence to the brilliance of De Beers' marketing campaign. The slogan, "A diamond is forever," is still regarded as one of the most successful and influential advertising phrases in history. But the reality is that diamonds are not as rare as many have been led to believe. In fact, De Beers controlled the global diamond market for decades, strategically limiting the supply to keep prices high and create an illusion of scarcity. But despite this, the legacy of De Beers' campaign remains. Diamonds are no longer just gemstones. They are symbols of something much larger. Whether we buy diamonds out of tradition, societal pressure, or genuine love, the message has been etched in stone. Diamonds signify forever. This campaign illustrates the power of marketing to transform cultural norms, shape our perceptions of value, and create traditions that feel timeless. De Beers didn't just sell diamonds. They reinvented the way we think about love and commitment, making them inseparable from the tradition of engagement. So, whether or not we fully understand the truth behind their rarity, diamonds are forever, because in the world of marketing, De Beers made them so. 1941, the first TV commercial in the US, Bulova watches 10-second spot. In the early 20th century, television was still in its infancy. Few people could have predicted how dramatically this new medium would change the world of advertising. However, in 1941, a single moment in time would set the stage for an advertising revolution that would change the way companies connected with consumers forever. The year was 1941, and Bulova Watches, an established brand known for its precision timepieces, was about to take a groundbreaking step. While radio had long been the dominant medium for advertisements, television was still a novelty in most households. There were few TV stations, and even fewer people had access to a television. Yet, it was clear that television had the potential to reach a large, captivated audience, making it the perfect platform for brands to reach consumers in a more personal and immersive way. A leap into the unknown, the first ever TV ad. On July 1st, 1941, the first ever television commercial aired in the United States. The commercial was for Bulova watches, and it lasted a mere 10 seconds. It was simple, straightforward, and groundbreaking, an advertisement that would define the future of television marketing. The ad itself was a still image of a Bulova watch superimposed over a map of the United States. The camera zoomed in on the image as a voiceover said, "Bulova watch time." And then, for the first time ever, the screen flashed a simple tagline, "America runs on Bulova time." While the ad was brief, it was incredibly powerful. This simple 10-second commercial was more than just an announcement for a product. It was the beginning of an era. It marked the start of the television advertising industry, a moment that would change the way products were marketed to the public for generations to come. Why it worked: timing, innovation, and simplicity. At its core, the Bulova commercial worked because it embraced the power of television in its most fundamental form. Television was an entirely new way for brands to reach consumers, offering an unparalleled combination of sight, sound, and motion. The ad didn't rely on complex visuals or messaging. Instead, it took advantage of the unique nature of TV by presenting something simple yet memorable. The timing was also significant. The commercial aired during a baseball game, a beloved American pastime that attracted a wide audience. By tying the ad to a live event, Bulova was able to reach a large number of viewers, a crucial element for any advertising success. The start of a revolution, shaping the future of TV advertising. The success of the Bulova ad proved that television was more than just a medium for entertainment. It could be a powerful marketing tool. This brief 10-second spot set a precedent for all future television advertising, making it clear that TV commercials were here to stay. In the years that followed, companies quickly recognized the potential of television as an advertising platform. The Bulova commercial served as the inspiration for countless others that would follow, paving the way for the multi-billion-dollar television advertising industry we know today. A legacy that endures. Although the first TV commercial was a modest start, it heralded the dawn of a new era. Today, TV commercials have evolved into multi-million-dollar productions, often featuring the latest technology and elaborate storytelling. But all of this started with a 10-second spot for Bulova watches, a simple yet bold step into the unknown. This first TV commercial may have been brief, but it remains a defining moment in the history of marketing. It wasn't just an ad for a watch, it was a statement about the future of advertising, a moment that showcased the potential of television to reach millions and forever change how products were marketed to the world. In many ways, Bulova watches didn't just sell a timepiece, they introduced the world to a new era of advertising, where brands could connect with consumers in a more dynamic, emotional, and engaging way. The impact of this 10-second ad can still be felt today, as TV remains one of the most influential mediums for advertising across the globe. The power of innovation. Looking back, the Bulova commercial serves as a reminder that great ideas don't always need to be complicated. Sometimes, the best moments in marketing come from embracing innovation and using new mediums in ways that were never before imagined. And just like that, the first ever TV commercial from 1941 became an enduring symbol of the creativity, vision, and power of advertising in the modern age. 1955, the birth of celebrity marketing, Marilyn Monroe, says she only sleeps in Chanel No. 5 inches. By the mid-1950s, Marilyn Monroe had already cemented her place as one of Hollywood's most beloved icons. Her beauty, charm, and talent had captured the hearts of millions around the world, and she was at the peak of her fame. But it wasn't just her acting or singing that made her a household name. Monroe's influence reached beyond the silver screen and into the world of fashion, beauty, and luxury. In 1955, she made a statement that would forever change the landscape of marketing. In a legendary interview, Monroe was asked what she wore to bed. Her simple response would become a turning point for both celebrity endorsements and the fragrance industry. "I only wear Chanel No. 5 inches." A simple statement, a revolution in marketing. At the time, Chanel No. 5 was already an established fragrance, known for its luxurious blend of floral and aldehyde notes. But after Monroe's remark, it became so much more. The moment she spoke those words, she transformed the perfume into a symbol of glamour, allure, and sophistication. Chanel No. 5 was no longer just a fragrance. It became the fragrance of a cultural icon, a product tied directly to the world's most famous sex symbol. Monroe, known for her striking beauty and vulnerability, had always been seen as the epitome of femininity and sensuality. When she said she wore nothing but Chanel No. 5 to bed, it wasn't just a passing comment. It was a symbolic gesture that connected her personal brand with the product, creating a powerful marketing moment that would be felt for decades. The power of celebrity influence. This was one of the first major instances of celebrity marketing, where a famous figure's endorsement of a product went beyond a simple advertisement. By associating herself with Chanel No. 5, Monroe turned the perfume into a must-have item for women who wanted to embody the same allure and sensuality that she did. Suddenly, wearing Chanel No. 5 wasn't just about fragrance. It was about emulating Marilyn Monroe, about capturing a bit of the magic and mystery that surrounded her. This was more than just an endorsement. It was a cultural shift. Before this moment, celebrity endorsements were largely reserved for products like cosmetics or fashion. But Monroe's remark showed that even something as intangible as fragrance could become intrinsically tied to a celebrity's identity. It wasn't just a product, it was a part of her persona, a reflection of her sex appeal, and an extension of her star power. Why it worked. The intersection of glamour, authenticity, and desire. There were several reasons why Monroe's statement had such a lasting impact. Authenticity. Marilyn Monroe wasn't just a random celebrity endorsing a product. She genuinely represented the type of person who would wear Chanel No. 5. Her image was one of beauty, sophistication, and effortless elegance. By associating herself with the perfume, she made it feel personal and authentic. Desirability. Monroe's status as an international sex symbol made her words incredibly impactful. Anything she said or did was immediately desirable, and her association with Chanel No. 5 added a sense of exclusivity and luxury to the fragrance. Women didn't just want to smell like Monroe, they wanted to feel like her. Timeless glamour. Monroe's image was timeless. She was the embodiment of 1950s glamour, and this association with Chanel No. 5 positioned the perfume as a luxury product that wasn't just fashionable for the moment, but would remain eternally chic. The long-lasting legacy. Marilyn Monroe's simple statement about wearing Chanel No. 5 to bed went on to become one of the most iconic moments in marketing history. It set the stage for the celebrity-driven advertising that dominates much of the modern marketing landscape. Today, celebrity endorsements are a multi-billion-dollar industry, with stars from all over the world lending their faces and names to everything from cars to watches to beauty products. In the years that followed, countless other brands sought to emulate Chanel's success by pairing with celebrities. But Chanel No. 5 stood apart, not just because of Monroe's endorsement, but because the perfume had become woven into the fabric of popular culture. It was no longer just a product, it was a part of the Marilyn Monroe mythos, and in turn, it became a symbol of luxury, femininity, and timeless elegance. A marketing moment that defined an era. Marilyn Monroe's association with Chanel No. 5 is more than just a clever marketing tactic. It's an example of how celebrity power can influence cultural trends. Through her words, she elevated Chanel No. 5 from being just a fragrance to being an icon. It wasn't just a product she endorsed. It was a piece of the fantasy, an invitation to feel the magic she exuded. To this day, Chanel No. 5 remains one of the most famous fragrances in the world, and the story of Marilyn Monroe's endorsement lives on as a testament to the power of celebrity marketing. From that moment in 1955, brands everywhere learned that a celebrity's words could shape a product's identity, and that connection could last a lifetime. 1959, Volkswagen's Think Small ads, a revolution in minimalism and honesty in marketing. By the late 1950s, American car culture was dominated by one thing: Big, flashy, powerful automobiles. Detroit's finest were rolling out enormous Cadillacs and muscle cars with chrome finishes, tail fins, and roaring V8 engines. In this landscape of excess, a small, oddly shaped German car seemed like an impossible sell. And yet, in 1959, Volkswagen and the advertising agency Doyle Dane Bernbach, DDB, did the unthinkable. They embraced the Beetle's flaws and turned them into its biggest strengths. The result? Think Small, one of the most groundbreaking ad campaigns in history. A radical approach, selling simplicity in a world of excess. At the time, advertising was all about exaggeration. Cars were sold as symbols of power, status, and the American dream. The more luxurious, the better. But Volkswagen's Beetle was none of those things. It was tiny, underpowered, and completely unglamorous. Instead of pretending the Beetle was something it wasn't, DDB's campaign leaned into its differences. The Think Small ad was as unconventional as the car itself. A plain white background instead of the flashy, colourful ads of the time. A tiny image of the Beetle, making it look almost insignificant. Simple, witty copy that admitted the car's small size, but highlighted its benefits. Better gas mileage, easier parking, lower maintenance costs. The message: bigger isn't always better. Honesty as a superpower. This campaign did something radical. It told the truth. At a time when most ads exaggerated their product's features, Volkswagen embraced honesty in a way that felt fresh, bold, and even a little self-deprecating. Instead of claiming the Beetle was powerful, they admitted it was small, but smart. Instead of pretending it was luxurious, they highlighted its simplicity and reliability. The brand's willingness to poke fun at itself made it instantly likable. One of the most famous lines from the campaign: "It makes your house look bigger." Why it worked, breaking every advertising rule. Minimalist design. At a time when ads were cluttered with flashy images, Volkswagen's clean, sparse layout stood out immediately. Reverse psychology. By downplaying the car, they made people more interested. The ad's humility actually made it more persuasive. Clever copywriting. The writing was witty, smart, and direct, speaking to the reader as if they were having a conversation with a friend. Appealing to the underdog mentality. Not everyone wanted to be part of the flashy, oversized American car trend. The Beetle appealed to practical, independent thinkers who wanted to go against the grain. The long-lasting impact of Think Small. Volkswagen's campaign didn't just sell cars, it changed advertising forever. It pioneered minimalism in marketing, proving that less is more. It showed that honesty and self-awareness could be more powerful than hype. It made consumers feel smart for choosing a product that wasn't about status, but about practicality. And the results? The Beetle became one of the best-selling cars in history, and Think Small became one of the most legendary ad campaigns of all time. A new era of marketing. Today we take minimalist, honest, and witty advertising for granted, but it all started here. Think Small wasn't just about selling cars. It was about challenging norms, breaking conventions, and making simplicity cool. In an era of excess, Volkswagen proved that sometimes thinking small is the biggest idea of all. 1964, the Marlboro Man, the marketing phenomenon that created the ultimate masculine archetype. By the early 1960s, cigarettes were everywhere, but they weren't particularly masculine. In fact, Marlboro had originally been marketed as a woman's cigarette, with ads emphasizing its mild flavor and a dainty red filter designed to prevent lipstick stains. Sales were unimpressive. Marlboro was just another forgettable brand in a crowded market. Then, in 1954, everything changed. The advertising agency Leo Burnett took a radical new approach. Marlboro would no longer be a mild cigarette. It would be the cigarette of real men. And the face of this transformation? The Marlboro Man. By 1964, this campaign had fully solidified itself as a cultural icon, turning a struggling brand into one of the most successful cigarette companies in history. The birth of a legend. How a cowboy sold cigarettes. The genius of the Marlboro campaign was its simplicity. No gimmicks, no celebrity endorsements, no flashy slogans, just a rugged cowboy, a vast open landscape, and a cigarette dangling from his lips. The imagery was everything. These ads didn't need to tell you that Marlboro was for men, they showed you. The Marlboro Man was tough, independent, and fearless. He didn't talk much. He just rode his horse, stared off into the distance, and lit a cigarette like he had all the time in the world. The ads were set in wide-open landscapes, reinforcing a sense of freedom, adventure, and self-reliance. There was no direct sales pitch. The message was psychological. Smoke Marlboro, and you're not just buying a cigarette. You're buying into an identity. The cowboy was the perfect symbol. Timeless, rugged, and uniquely American. The message was clear. Real men smoke Marlboro. Why it worked, creating an archetype. The Marlboro Man wasn't just an ad character, he was a cultural phenomenon. The campaign worked because it tapped into something deeper than just selling cigarettes. The ultimate symbol of masculinity. At a time when men were expected to be strong, independent, and self-reliant, the cowboy represented everything society admired. Emotional selling over product selling. The ads didn't talk about the cigarette's flavor, quality, or ingredients. They sold an idea. If you smoke Marlboro, you're part of this world. Universal appeal. Even if you lived in a city and never touched a horse, the fantasy of the cowboy lifestyle was powerful. The ads let men picture themselves as free, untamed, and in control. Minimalist, yet powerful storytelling. The Marlboro Man barely spoke. The ads were visual, letting the audience fill in the blanks and project themselves onto the character. And it worked spectacularly. From underdog to market leader. Before the campaign, Marlboro had a market share of less than 1%. By the mid-1960s, it had become the best-selling cigarette brand in the world. Sales skyrocketed by over 3,000% in just a few years. The campaign didn't just make Marlboro the king of cigarettes, it redefined tobacco advertising forever. Soon, every brand wanted to sell a lifestyle, not just a product. The dark side of the Marlboro Man. For all its marketing brilliance, the campaign had a tragic side. Several of the real-life cowboys who portrayed the Marlboro Man later died of smoking-related illnesses, leading to public backlash. As the health risks of smoking became undeniable, governments banned cigarette advertising, and Marlboro had to shift its strategy. Yet, even decades later, the legacy of the Marlboro Man endures. The lasting impact, more than just a cigarette ad. Even today, the Marlboro Man remains one of the most iconic advertising figures of all time. The campaign proved that powerful imagery, emotional connection, and cultural archetypes could be far more persuasive than traditional product-focused marketing. More importantly, it showed that great advertising doesn't just sell a product, it sells an identity, a dream, a way of life. Marlboro wasn't just selling cigarettes, it was selling freedom, strength, and the spirit of the American West. And for millions of men, that was worth lighting up for. 1984. Apple's 1984. Commercial. a masterpiece of storytelling and experience marketing. By 1984, personal computers were still seen as tools for business, not creativity. The market was dominated by IBM, whose machines were powerful but cold, corporate, and uniform. The very opposite of what Apple envisioned for its new computer, the Macintosh. Apple didn't just want to sell a computer, it wanted to start a revolution. So instead of creating a traditional tech ad, Apple crafted a cinematic masterpiece, a commercial that would become one of the most famous in advertising history. On January 22nd, 1984, during Super Bowl XVIII, the world saw something completely unexpected. A terrifying dystopian future, a lone rebel, and a single act of defiance that changed everything. This was Apple's 1984 commercial, and it redefined marketing forever. The power of the 1984 narrative. Directed by Ridley Scott, fresh off the success of Blade Runner, Apple's commercial wasn't just an ad. It was a short film packed with symbolism, tension, and a bold message. The setting: a dark dystopian world where rows of identical lifeless people stare at a giant screen, brainwashed by a dictator delivering a speech. The villain: a big brother-like figure, clearly representing IBM and the oppressive, conformist nature of the tech industry. The hero: a young woman in a bright red running outfit, carrying a sledgehammer, the symbol of revolution. The climax: as the dictator declares, "We shall prevail," the woman hurls the hammer at the screen, shattering it into pieces. The message: a new era of computing is coming. Then, the final words appeared on the screen. On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984. The screen fades to black. Millions of viewers sat in stunned silence. Why 1984 was revolutionary. Apple's commercial was unlike anything ever seen before in advertising. Instead of listing features or showing the product, it told a story, one that made viewers feel something powerful. It created a movement, not just a product. The ad wasn't selling a computer, it was selling rebellion, individuality, and freedom. It positioned Apple users as creative visionaries fighting against a soulless system. People didn't just want a Mac, they wanted to be part of the revolution. It was bold and provocative. No logos, no specs, no prices, just pure cinematic storytelling. Instead of directly mentioning IBM, it let the audience make the connection themselves, making it even more impactful. Apple challenged the status quo in a way that resonated with a new generation of thinkers and creators. It transformed Super Bowl advertising. Before 1984, Super Bowl ads were mostly forgettable product pitches. Apple turned the Super Bowl into an event for groundbreaking advertising, setting the standard for decades to come. The aftermath. A marketing legend is born. Apple's gamble paid off in ways no one expected. The Macintosh sold out immediately after its launch. The ad became one of the most talked about commercials of all time. It solidified Apple's brand identity as the company for creators, rebels, and forward thinkers. Even today, brands study and replicate the storytelling techniques Apple used in 1984. But perhaps the most remarkable part: Apple only aired the ad once. That one Super Bowl airing was enough to make history. The lasting legacy of 1984. More than just a commercial, 1984 was a manifesto, a declaration that technology should empower people, not control them. Decades later, it remains one of the greatest ads ever created, proving that a powerful story can make a product legendary. Apple didn't just introduce a computer, it inspired a revolution, one that shaped the future of technology, creativity, and marketing itself. 1986, the Pepsi Challenge, how bold marketing took on a giant and changed the game. By the 1980s, Coca-Cola was the undisputed king of soft drinks. For nearly a century, Coke had dominated the market, with its classic formula, nostalgic branding, and an almost untouchable status. Pepsi? Pepsi was always second best, the other cola. But Pepsi had one thing Coca-Cola didn't: a willingness to challenge the status quo. And so, in a bold move that would shake up the industry, Pepsi launched a daring experiment, one that would prove, once and for all, that taste mattered more than tradition. It was called the Pepsi Challenge, and it was about to change everything. The experiment that shocked the world. The idea was simple but brilliant. Pepsi set up blind taste tests in shopping malls, supermarkets, and public places across the US. Regular people, not actors, not paid endorsers, were asked to take a sip from two unmarked cups. One contained Pepsi, the other contained Coca-Cola. Then came the big question: which one do you like better? The results? Stunning. More people chose Pepsi, over and over again. It wasn't just a fluke. It wasn't just a regional preference. Across multiple tests, Pepsi kept winning, proving that when people weren't influenced by branding, they actually preferred Pepsi's sweeter, smoother taste. And Pepsi didn't just keep this data to themselves. They turned it into a national campaign. The ads that made Coke sweat. Pepsi took the footage of real people choosing Pepsi over Coke and turned it into a series of TV commercials. The message was clear: Pepsi wasn't saying they were better. The people were. One by one, everyday consumers, your neighbors, your friends, maybe even you, were picking Pepsi. And suddenly, Coca-Cola, the giant, the icon, the gold standard of soft drinks, looked vulnerable. The fallout, Coke's desperate response. For the first time in decades, Coke was nervous. And when big brands get nervous, they sometimes make big mistakes. In 1985, in an attempt to fight back, Coca-Cola made a shocking decision. They changed their formula. They called it New Coke, a sweeter, reformulated version meant to compete with Pepsi's flavor. The result? A disaster. Consumers hated it. The backlash was immediate, intense, and relentless. After just 79 days, Coca-Cola was forced to bring back the original formula, rebranded as Coca-Cola Classic. Pepsi? They watched, smiled, and kept winning taste tests. For the first time ever, Pepsi closed the gap on Coca-Cola's market dominance. Why the Pepsi Challenge worked? It was based on data, not hype. Pepsi didn't just say they were better, they proved it. The campaign was built on real consumer reactions, making it believable and powerful. It turned underdog energy into strength. Instead of running from its status as the number 2 cola, Pepsi embraced it. They positioned themselves as the rebel, the challenger, the brand for people who questioned authority. It put the power in the hands of the consumer. The message wasn't trust us, it was trust yourself. Pepsi gave people the chance to decide for themselves, and the results spoke louder than any advertisement ever could. The legacy of the Pepsi Challenge. Decades later, the Pepsi Challenge remains one of the boldest marketing moves in history. It showed that taking risks, questioning authority, and daring to challenge a giant could actually work. And even though Coke eventually regained its dominance, the Pepsi Challenge proved one thing. The best brands don't just sell products, they create conversations. And Pepsi, they forced the world to talk. 1988, The birth of Just Do It. How Nike created one of the most motivational slogans in history. By the late 1980s, Nike was struggling. Though the company had a solid reputation among professional athletes, it was losing ground to Reebok, which had captured the booming aerobics and fitness market. Nike needed more than just a new campaign. It needed a statement, something that would define the brand for years to come. What they came up with? 3 simple words. Just do it. It wasn't just a slogan. It was a mentality, a challenge, a revolution, and it changed the course of marketing history. The genius behind Just Do It. Nike's ad agency, Whedon plus Kennedy, had a radical idea. Instead of just selling shoes, Nike should sell motivation. The inspiration came from an unexpected place, the last words of a convicted criminal. Dan Whedon, the creative mastermind behind the campaign, recalled a news story about Gary Gilmore, a murderer who, before facing the firing squad, uttered his final words, "Let's do it." That phrase stuck with Whedon. He modified it slightly, made it universal, and turned it into something powerful, positive, and unforgettable. Just do it. Short, direct, and packed with meaning. It wasn't just about sports. It was about pushing past fear, doubt, and hesitation, whether that meant running a marathon, starting a business, or changing your life. The first Just Do It commercial. In 1988, Nike launched the first ever Just Do It ad, featuring 80-year-old Walt Stack, a legendary San Francisco runner known for jogging across the Golden Gate Bridge every morning, without fail. The ad was simple. No fancy effects, no dramatic music, just Walt Stack, running, smiling, and saying, "I run 17 miles every morning. People ask me how I keep my teeth from chattering in the winter. I leave them in my locker." Then, in bold white letters, "Just do it." It wasn't about being the fastest or the strongest. It was about showing up, doing the work, and never making excuses. Why Just Do It became a phenomenon. Nike's slogan immediately resonated with people far beyond the world of sports. It spoke to anyone facing a challenge: athletes, entrepreneurs, students, dreamers. It was universally relatable. Whether you were a pro athlete or a weekend jogger, Just Do It spoke directly to you. It wasn't about perfection, it was about effort. It sold a mindset, not just shoes. Nike wasn't just advertising sneakers, it was selling an attitude. Wearing Nikes meant you were part of something bigger, part of a community that didn't make excuses. It transcended sports. The slogan wasn't limited to athletics. It applied to any challenge, any goal, any dream. The impact: Nike becomes a global giant. The Just Do It campaign exploded. In just 10 years, Nike's sales jumped from $800 million to $9.2 billion. The brand overtook Reebok and became the undisputed leader in sports apparel. The slogan became part of pop culture, recognized worldwide. Nike kept pushing the message with powerful, emotional ads featuring legends like Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, and Tiger Woods. The best part? Nike never had to explain what Just Do It meant. People already knew. The legacy of Just Do It. Decades later, Just Do It remains one of the greatest advertising slogans of all time. It's still relevant. It's still motivating people. It's still pushing boundaries. And it all started with a simple but profound idea. You don't have to be ready. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to start. Just do it. 1991. Got milk? How a simple question became one of the most iconic ad campaigns in history. By the early 1990s, milk had a problem. For decades, it had been a staple in American households, but suddenly, people were drinking less of it. Soda, juice, bottled water, competition was everywhere. Milk was starting to feel boring. The California Milk Processor Board, CMPB, needed a game changer, something that would make people care about milk again. The answer? A two-word question that would become one of the most famous slogans in advertising history. Got milk? The birth of an iconic campaign. The challenge was clear. How do you make people think about milk, something so ordinary, so overlooked, in a fresh, exciting way? Instead of focusing on the health benefits, which had been done before, the agency Goodbye Silverstein and Partners took a different approach. They asked a brilliantly simple question: what happens when you don't have milk? That insight led to a series of hilarious, relatable commercials that would make milk feel essential, not by glorifying it, but by showing the pain of not having it when you need it most. The first Got Milk ad, a lesson in frustration. The first commercial, Aaron Burr, aired in 1993, and it was an instant classic. It featured a history buff sitting in his apartment, surrounded by memorabilia of the famous Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton duel. On the radio, a DJ announces a $10,000 prize for the first caller who can answer one question. Who shot Alexander Hamilton? The man, ecstatic, immediately calls in. He knows the answer. But there's a problem. His mouth is stuffed with peanut butter. He reaches for a glass of milk to wash it down, but it's empty. Mumbling, panicking, unable to speak clearly, he watches as the DJ says, "Oh, sorry, wrong answer." The screen fades to black. Two words appear: got milk? Why got milk became legendary. It made people feel the need for milk. Instead of listing milk's nutritional benefits, the ads focused on frustration and FOMO, fear of missing out. The message was clear: you never think about milk until you don't have it, and then it's a disaster. It used humor, not guilt. Other campaigns had pushed milk as good for you, but Got Milk made it entertaining. People didn't just watch the ads, they talked about them, shared them, and remembered them. It was simple, sticky, and universal. Two words, that's all it took. Got Milk became instantly recognizable, adaptable, and endlessly repeatable. The milk mustache era. By the mid-90s, the campaign went national, and that's when things really took off. The milk mustache ads became a cultural phenomenon, featuring celebrities, athletes, and pop culture icons posing with a white milk mustache and the famous tagline. From Michael Jordan to Britney Spears, from The Simpsons to Superman, everyone was in on it. It wasn't just about drinking milk anymore. It was about being part of a cultural movement. The legacy of Got Milk. Over the next 2 decades, Got Milk became one of the most successful advertising slogans of all time. It wasn't just an ad, it was a pop culture moment. Even today, long after the official campaign ended, the phrase still lives on. It's been parodied, remixed, and repurposed into countless other marketing campaigns. Because at its core, Got Milk wasn't really about selling milk. It was about making people feel something so simple, yet so powerful that it changed the way we look at an everyday product forever. 2 words, endless impact. 1994, the first ever online banner, ad, How AT&T Changed Advertising Forever. Today, online ads are everywhere. Pop-ups, banners, social media promotions. We barely notice them. But in 1994, digital advertising was completely uncharted territory. Then came AT&T, a telecom giant with a vision. They launched the first ever online banner ad, a simple but groundbreaking message that would shape the future of the internet. Have you ever clicked right here? It was bold, it was new, and it was the beginning of digital advertising as we know it. The birth of the banner ad. In the early 1990s, the internet was still in its infancy. Websites were mostly text-based, and no one had figured out how to make money online. Then came Hotwired, the digital arm of Wired magazine. They had an idea. What if brands could advertise on the internet just like they did in magazines and TV? But how do you convince companies to invest in an ad format that had never existed before? AT&T was willing to take the risk. For $30,000, they bought space on hotwired.com and ran the first ever clickable banner ad on October 27, 1994. It was a simple, colorful rectangle with a mysterious, intriguing question. Have you ever clicked right here? Underneath, a promise. You will. And people did. The results, a 44% click-through rate, twice. In today's world, a 0.5% click-through rate, CTR, on a banner ad is considered decent. AT&T's ad, it got a staggering 44% CTR. Nearly half of the people who saw it clicked, not because they were interested in AT&T, but because they had never seen anything like it before. The ad led to a landing page showcasing AT&T's vision for the future of the internet, virtual museums, live online baseball games, and instant news updates. In 1994, this sounded like science fiction, but AT&T was right. Why it changed everything. It proved that online advertising worked. Before this, brands didn't know if they could reach consumers on the internet. This experiment showed that people were willing to engage and that the web could be monetized. It paved the way for the digital ad industry. After AT&T's success, other companies rushed to buy digital ad space. By the early 2000s, online advertising had exploded, and today, it's a $600+ billion industry. It shaped the way we use the internet. Without this first banner ad, the internet might have remained a purely informational space. Instead, it became a business ecosystem where content is often free because ads pay the bills. The legacy of the first banner ad. Looking back, AT&T's 1994 ad might seem primitive, a basic rectangle, no animations, no targeting. But in one simple message, it captured the essence of digital advertising: curiosity, engagement, action. Today, banner ads have evolved into personalized, AI-driven marketing machines. But every time you scroll past an ad online, remember, it all started with one simple question. Have you ever clicked right here? 1995, the birth of Amazon. How one online bookstore changed the world. Today, Amazon is everywhere. It's where we shop, stream, read, and even power our smart homes. But in 1995, it was just a small online bookstore, one that would redefine e-commerce forever. And it all started with a simple vision from a Wall Street analyst named Jeff Bezos. The big idea: a store that never closes. In the early 90s, the internet was still a wild west, full of promise but with no clear roadmap for business success. Bezos, however, saw an opportunity. He had read a report that internet usage was growing by 2,300% per year. He knew this was the future, so he asked himself, what's the perfect product to sell online? It had to be lightweight for easy shipping, in high demand, available in thousands of varieties. The answer? Books. In July 1995, he launched a simple-looking website, Amazon.com, named after the biggest river in the world, because Bezos had the biggest ambitions. The tagline, Earth's biggest bookstore. And while it only sold books at first, Bezos had a much bigger plan in mind, one that would change retail forever. Why Amazon took off. Personalization, the power of you might also like. Amazon didn't just sell books, it studied what customers liked. The recommendation engine was revolutionary. Instead of just listing bestsellers, Amazon suggested books based on past purchases and browsing habits. This was the birth of data-driven marketing, a strategy that still powers e-commerce today. Customer obsession, reviews, and trust. Bezos knew that people wouldn't just buy from any website, they needed trust. Amazon became one of the first sites to allow customer reviews, even negative ones. The result? People trusted Amazon more than traditional bookstores. The ultimate convenience, one-click shopping. In 1997, Amazon patented one-click ordering, a game-changer for e-commerce. No filling out forms, no re-entering payment details. Just one button. This made online shopping faster, easier, and more addictive. From books to everything. Amazon didn't stop at books. By the early 2000s, it had expanded into music, electronics, and beyond. Then came Amazon Prime, a subscription model that made fast, free shipping the norm, turning occasional shoppers into lifelong customers. And then, Kindle revolutionized reading. AWS, Amazon Web Services, became the backbone of the internet. Alexa brought AI into our homes. Every step of the way, Amazon used data, personalization, and relentless innovation to reshape the way we shop. Amazon's impact, the e-commerce giant that never sleeps. Created the blueprint for modern e-commerce. Set the standard for personalized marketing. Redefined customer expectations. Fast shipping, easy returns, and endless choices. And today, Amazon isn't just a store, it's a way of life. All because one man, in 1995, believed that the future of shopping was online, and he was right. 1996, Nike and Michael Jordan, the failure campaign that redefined sports storytelling. By 1996, Michael Jordan was a global icon, a 6-time NBA champion, a basketball legend, and a marketing powerhouse. Nike had already built the Air Jordan empire around him, turning sneakers into status symbols. But this time, they did something unexpected. Instead of celebrating victory, they focused on something far more powerful: failure. The ad that changed everything. The commercial was simple but unforgettable. Jordan, dressed in a suit, walked toward the Chicago Bulls locker room. His voice, calm yet reflective, played over the scene. "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." The screen faded to black. The Nike swoosh appeared. No explosions, no slow-motion dunks, just raw honesty. Why it worked. 1. It made Jordan human. Until then, he was seen as untouchable. This ad revealed his struggles, making him more relatable. 2. It flipped the script on failure. In sports, failure was seen as something to avoid. Nike redefined it as the key to success. 3. It spoke to everyone. This wasn't just about basketball. It was about every person chasing a dream. The message was universal. the legacy of failure. Nike proved that storytelling isn't just about winning, it's about the journey. The ad reshaped how brands talked about success, influencing sports marketing for decades. And Jordan, he remained the greatest of all time, not because he never failed, but because he never let failure stop him. 1997, the dawn of viral marketing, Hotmail's P.S. I Love You. In the nascent days of the World Wide Web, the concept of viral marketing was virtually unknown. In 1996, a fledgling company called Hotmail sought to disrupt the dominance of traditional, paid-for email services. Their strategy? To leverage the very nature of digital communication to fuel their growth. Hotmail's founders, Sabir Bhatia and Jack Smith, understood that email was inherently social. People used it to connect, to share, and to communicate. They theorized that if they could embed a subtle promotional message within each email sent, they could tap into this social network effect. The P.S. I Love You phenomenon. The masterstroke was the inclusion of a simple line at the bottom of every Hotmail email. Get your free email at Hotmail. This innocuous addition, often appearing as a P.S. I Love You type of afterthought, held the key to their explosive growth. Here's how it worked. Organic spread. Every Hotmail user, by simply sending an email, became a de facto advertiser. Their contacts, upon receiving the email, would see the promotional message. Zero cost acquisition. Unlike traditional advertising, this method incurred virtually no cost. Each new user was acquired through the organic sharing of existing users. Exponential growth. As more people signed up, the network effect intensified. The more emails sent, the more people were exposed to the message, leading to rapid, exponential growth. The impact. Hotmail's strategy was a resounding success. Within a few months, they amassed millions of users, becoming one of the fastest-growing companies in history. Their approach demonstrated the power of leveraging existing communication networks for marketing purposes. Key takeaways. Hotmail's campaign marked the beginning of viral marketing, a strategy that has become a staple of digital marketing. It highlighted the importance of understanding the inherent social nature of digital communication. It proved that simple organic methods can be incredibly effective in driving rapid growth. In essence, Hotmail turned its users into a self-replicating marketing force, paving the way for the viral campaigns that define much of today's digital landscape. 1997, the shattering of illusions, Dove's evolution, and the real beauty revolution. In the late 1990s, the beauty industry was a realm of unattainable ideals, where airbrushed perfection reigned supreme. The relentless bombardment of flawless images had fostered a culture of self-doubt and insecurity, particularly among women. In 2006, Dove, a personal care brand, decided to challenge this status quo with a groundbreaking campaign titled Evolution, the genesis of evolution. The campaign's centerpiece was a short film that meticulously dissected the process of transforming an ordinary woman into a digitally enhanced beauty ideal. The film began with a seemingly natural shot of a young woman, only to reveal the layers of manipulation involved. Professional makeup, hairstyling, and, most crucially, digital retouching. The deconstruction of beauty standards. Evolution exposed the artifice behind the glossy images that dominated advertising and media. The film's message was clear. What we perceive as beauty is often a carefully constructed illusion far removed from reality. By demystifying the process, Dove aimed to empower women to question the unrealistic standards imposed upon them. The impact and aftermath. The Evolution campaign was a cultural phenomenon, sparking a global conversation about the nature of beauty and the influence of media. The film went viral, garnering millions of views and generating widespread media coverage. Dove had tapped into a collective yearning for authenticity, resonating with women who felt alienated by the prevailing beauty ideals. Scientific insights and psychological implications. From a scientific perspective, evolution shed light on the psychological effects of media exposure. Studies have shown that constant exposure to idealized images can lead to body dissatisfaction, low self-esteem, and even eating disorders. Dove's campaign challenged this harmful dynamic, advocating for a more inclusive and realistic definition of beauty. The Real Beauty movement. Evolution was a catalyst for Dove's broader Real Beauty campaign, which continued to challenge conventional beauty standards. The brand featured women of diverse shapes, sizes, and ethnicities in its advertising, celebrating the beauty of individuality. Key takeaways. Evolution was a watershed moment in advertising, demonstrating the power of authenticity and social responsibility. The campaign highlighted the psychological impact of media on self-perception and body image. Dove's Real Beauty movement has had a lasting impact on the beauty industry, inspiring other brands to adopt more inclusive and realistic representations of beauty. In essence, evolution was not just a marketing campaign, it was a cultural intervention, a scientific exploration of beauty ideals, and a catalyst for a global movement towards greater self-acceptance. Summary. And so, dear listener, we have reached the end of our journey through the fascinating world of 20th century marketing. We've had the opportunity to see how advertising icons were born, how trends changed, and how marketing became an increasingly powerful tool in the hands of creators and brands. We hope that this journey has given you a better understanding of how marketing influences our lives and culture. But our story doesn't end here. In the next episode, we'll move closer to our own time to look at the greatest marketing campaigns of the 21st century, those that have defined the digital age so far. We'll see how the internet, social media, and new technologies have changed the rules of the game, how brands are coping in an era of ubiquitous digitization, and how they are creating campaigns that continue to surprise and inspire us. Join us to discover how marketing is evolving in the new millennium and what surprises await us in the future. Until next time,